Hey, welcome to.
Uh-oh.
See that? That's why I asked you if we were muted or not. There's always something in
Surprise
the
guest.
background.
Surprise. Look at the surprise.
Hey, we're back. Episode 24, Three Chords and the Truth. I'm Pete Kramer, your host. I'm the singer and songwriter for the Pete Kramer and the Eastwood Project. Also, I'm author of the book Octoboy and the Girls, which is available on Amazon in both hardcover form as well as audio form. I'm also a licensed real estate agent, chief cook and bottle washer. Call me whatever you want. People always do. Over at Master Control, as always, we have our good friend Sebastian DeJesus, who's the producer of this show, and he also hosts his own sports show, 42 North, 78 West. Sports show on Monday nights at 8:45, and he's always got some real cool stuff on there. I always like to mention our good friends Lynn, Bev, and Peggy at Special Spaces. If you're not familiar with them, they redo bedrooms for kids with cancer. Their work is amazing. Just great people. So anyway, join our Three Chords and the Truth Facebook page so that you can automatically get notified of upcoming episodes. Subscribe to our YouTube page. Go ahead, feel free to give us a like, make comments, ask questions. We can answer questions live while we're doing this when they pop up. So with all that out of the way, let's bring in our guest from the great state of Illinois, the land of Lincoln, Mr. David Hinske. Dave, how are you?
The land of Lincoln. Good. It says it right on our license plates. I've been here 2.5 years. When I got here in January, it was 2 years ago this past January.
Yeah.
And Lincoln's birthday, or I guess it's Lincoln's birthday, is I think February 12th, maybe.
Yeah, something like that.
And I thought, new to the state. Oh boy, this is gonna be a party. We're gonna be doing some Lincolning around here. I went out and got a top hat and a fake black beard and everything, and nothing. I mean, there was nothing. There was nothing going on. I went to the bar and I was like, oh, hello, I'm Abe Lincoln, and people were like kind of dumbstruck.
You had Lincoln letdown, huh?
I had Lincoln letdown. So I have it. I have the hat and the beard in my spare bathroom. I call it the Lincoln bathroom.
And how hot is it there today? Are you guys?
It's
sweating?
not bad. Oh, it's not bad at all. It's like 74 or something like that.
Oh man, we hit 92 today, and it is so humid. Oh,
Could be worse. You could be in Portland.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, were they like 102 or 110 or something?
I think it was 112.
Wow, that's just crazy.
I think I'm just guessing, but we may be experiencing climate change.
It could be. You just never know. Well, let's get to the Dave Hinske story. Come on, tell us all about.
Look how big my head looks compared to yours. It looks huge. I have a huge head.
That's just camera angle, man. That's all.
I actually have a huge head.
I actually have a small head. Sebastian shrunk me on purpose.
Well, thanks for having me on.
No, I'm glad to have you. Dave and I know each other from the International Songwriters Association, the ISA group, and they're just a great group of people. And I'm, meeting more and more nice people from that page, and glad to be a member of it. But what brought you into music, man?
Well, like a lot of folks, and I'm assuming you and I are roughly the same age.
Yeah, I would suspect.
Yeah, a lot of folks our age. I mean, it was Ed Sullivan and the Beatles.
Yep.
I remember. I think I maybe have been 9 off the top of my head, and it was globally. It just impacted me in a global kind of way. I just saw that and I went, oh my gosh, here's this.
What the hell was that?
And they seemed to do it so effortlessly that it's, as a 9-year-old, I'm thinking, if I just got a guitar, I could probably be doing that. Mm-hmm. And it's, of course, not quite as easy as they made. by the time they got on Ed Sullivan, they had been together for a long time. All those Hamburg years and all of that. They probably had written 100 songs before they had that performance. But anyway, that was it. Within a year, my mother signed me up for guitar lessons. I started taking guitar lessons when I was 10. So that was 55 years ago.
Wow.
I've been playing guitar for over a half a century. I never thought I'd be saying that.
But you get some experience, man. There you go.
Well, yeah, I keep like Pablo said, I keep improving. I feel like I'm getting better. I took about 6 months of lessons, and I'm just a terrible student. I'm not a good student in academia. I'm just a lousy student. So I didn't do well with guitar lessons, and I set it down. I set it down for a couple of years, and by the time I turned maybe 13 or 14, and I started hearing Crosby, Stills, and Nash and Young and bands like the Eagles in America, and I was able to pick the guitar back up and back in the day, kids, you set the needle down on the record, tried to get it to the right place so you could learn the chords. You had to get a piece of paper and a pencil and write the lyrics out, and then figure out what the chords were. It wasn't just Google it all up. So I did a lot of that, and I met this guy, Mike Schmenk, at Guitar Mass. I would go in and play a few chords during Guitar Mass at church, and I met this guy Mike Schmenk, and he was 16, and he was just brilliant. He was an engineer, and he had already figured it out. From an engineering standpoint, he had figured out how to play guitar. And I approach it dramatically different from the way he does. He is all about technical skill, and I go at it more like an artist, but he showed me so much. And over the course of knowing him for a couple of years, I learned a ton, and we started a band. And once I was a shy wallflower high school kid. I couldn't talk to anybody, or I was just extremely shy. And I got in the band with Mike and a few other friends, and it just changed my world. It completely changed how I thought of myself, and that confidence led me to be the person I am today.
It's interesting that you played in church, because I hear that from so many different people that's the first time that they've played any place was in, whatever church they belong to. I know I did.
Yeah. We were pretty good, the two of us together, and occasionally there'd be a third or fourth or fifth person that would show up. And looking back on it, it's with a little we shouldn't have done this, but we would, during communion, we would tell them not to play. Okay, you three just sit here, and he and I would jam all the way through communion. And it was funny because we would play like Stairway to Heaven and stuff like that.
So
that's going to be 2 months in purgatory for me.
Yeah, there you go. How old are you at this time?
Oh, 16, 17, 16
okay.
Probably. There should be a list, though. Like, here's how much time in purgatory you have to do for this offense, so you can see whether it's worth it.
But by the title alone, you would think Stairway to Heaven would have been befitting for Mass, right?
Yes, let's go with that.
I got to tell you, man, I feel from the sound of your voice, just your speaking voice, I feel like I'm talking to Don Henley. You sound just like him, man.
Huh. No, well, I grew up in suburban Detroit, so I should sound like Glenn Fry.
Well, right, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, Don's from Amarillo, maybe?
Yeah, one of those towns in Texas. I don't remember which one, but...
Well,
no, and the funny thing too is that now the cover photo that I used for you for the invitation for this, your hair was a heck of a lot different.
Yeah, pandemic,
Well,
everybody got bored. I got bored. And
I thought I was going to be talking to David Crosby. It's like, holy
yeah.
shit.
Well, like Crosby says, I could have said it was getting in my way. Well, it was. As I save a fortune on shampoo, I must say.
I can imagine that. Yeah.
But, yeah, just went in the bathroom with a pair of scissors and hacked it all off.
Oh, geez. Wow.
Yeah, every once in a while, every 3 or 4 or 5 years.
And think of how many people that might be listening to this that have no idea who the hell we're talking about.
Oh, isn't that the truth? He's got a new album that's just about to drop or has already that just sounds amazing. Joan Baez painted a portrait of him for the cover. Michael McDonald is on it. The guy from Steely Dan that's still alive. He wrote one of the songs. I mean, it just, I've heard a little bit of it. Sarah Jarosz sings on. Sarah Jarosz and David Crosby and a piano doing For Free, Joni Mitchell's For Free. And even as I'm talking to you about it, I'm getting goosebumps.
Mm-hmm.
It's just brilliant. I mean, it's just absolutely spectacular.
I remember seeing that movie or documentary, I guess, Echoes from the Valley, I think it was called.
From the Canyon, yeah.
From the Canyon, thank you. Yeah. So obviously you've seen it. That to me, yeah. That was an amazing thing.
Somebody stopped me on the way out to make sure I wasn't Crosby. She came up behind me and tapped me on the shoulder.
But now, one of the things that I thought was pretty cool from the bio that you sent me is that, like, you've lived like all over the country, man. You've been, East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, everything. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that kind of stuff, because you told a really good story, but I didn't want to give it all away. You should be telling it.
I don't remember what I told you, but what happened was after taking 7 years to get a 4-year degree, like Pluto says in Animal House, that literally is how it worked for me. I got kicked out of 2 colleges, but finally found one that I stayed in long enough and took enough classes that agreed to give me a diploma. And my girlfriend at the time, who's now been my wife for 43 years, had the audacity to graduate. It's like, oh, well, what am I going to do now then? so I talked them into giving me a diploma, and this was in 79, I guess, in Michigan, and there weren't any jobs. She wasn't able to get a good job, and I wasn't either. And so she was offered a job in Atlanta teaching, and we thought, well, why not? Let's go to Atlanta and just see what Atlanta is like. And if she didn't like it after the year of teaching, we could have come back. So we went to Atlanta in November of 80, I think it was November of 80. And we got down there, and I was working the night shift at a gas station. And when I was on that night shift is when I heard John Lennon had been murdered. And man, I remember that like it was yesterday. And I was all alone. It was, I heard it probably 11 o'clock at night. And it was, that was just he was one of my heroes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So we did that for a while. Went north, lived in St. Paul for a couple of years through 2 brutal winters. At 30, I had figured out, when you and I were 30, if you hadn't had any traction in the music business, you weren't going to get any. 30 was kind of and so I decided to get into making a little bit of money to, have a life. And so I did that. And so we went to St. Paul for a job that I was pursuing. We stayed 2 years in St. Paul. And I was working in an accounting office. Sadly to say, about
you got to eat, man. You got to eat.
Right. In Minneapolis, about 2 blocks from First Avenue, where Prince performed. And I'd go back to my car at the end of the day, and I parked in a parking deck that was right next to First Avenue in Minneapolis. I'd be walking by these kids with, the mohawks, and they're hanging around the club, like waiting for the doors to open. I'd be thinking, oh, I want to be them. Oh, I don't want to be me. One time at a restaurant just a few doors down, my wife and I were eating, and we were close to the front window, the big glass in the front window, and Prince's limo pulls up, and he goes into the restaurant next door to us, and with his entourage, and a woman gets out of the car, and she's painted in silver, and she gets out of the limo, and gets on top of the limo, and her job while he was inside eating was to be fake, like a mannequin, like a live mannequin on top of his car. That was her gig.
He wasn't even that big at that time, was he?
No, he wasn't. I mean, he was well known around Minneapolis.
Oh, well, sure, locally, sure. Yeah, but I mean, he wasn't. He was eccentric all the time. But.
Yeah, that's my brush with Prince. That's my friends. And after a couple of years of the brutal winters there, we moved to Memphis. We lived in Memphis for 15, 16 years, something like that. Met a lot of great people, met some people in the Grammy organization that lived there, saw a lot of great music. Still hadn't gone back to the music. I had a great job, but it was emotionally brutal. And at age 52, I was fortunate enough to have banked enough that my wife and I decided to leave corporate culture behind. And we moved out to the middle of the desert, 11 miles outside of Taos, New Mexico. We lived at 7,000 feet. I designed a house on a piece of Broderbund software that I paid $60 for. And we found a guy out there that who had an engineer that blew it up into plans, and they built this house. And we lived there for 11 years. And when I was out there, then my nearest neighbor was about a quarter mile away. And he came over and said, "Hey, I've heard you play guitar. Let's play guitars." So we did. And I got back into it hugely. Started writing songs again. I completely rediscovered my muse. At the age of 59, I went back to Memphis and cut an album with some great studio musicians, Amy LaVere and Will Sexton, and people of that caliber came in to help me out. We in the house in Taos, we had a guest house, and as bands were coming across country, they would frequently stop and stay with us, and that was a blast. And Will and Amy had stopped and stayed with us a few times, so they were kind enough to come into the studio in Memphis and back me up on some songs. Anyway, so at 59 years old, I did the thing that I'd always wanted to do my entire life, which was release an album.
Mm-hmm.
And I did. And a few months later, it won Album of the Year at the Southwest Indie Artists Awards. And one of the songs won Rock Song of the Year. And I was like, oh, well, that was easy. I haven't won anything since, but
you went for how many years without doing anything?
Well, in between, let's see, when we moved, 1980, and then let's see, how old was I then? 35, 30. I'm 20, I guess 20. I guess I was 25. From 25 to 52. So I went like 30, roughly a little less than 30 years without really pursuing the music. And then when I got back into it, I was like, why did I ever? Well, I know why I did, but oh man, I regretted not playing all those years.
When did you write your first song?
Oh, I was 17 maybe.
Yeah.
It's on my second album, and it's just terribly amusing to me to get, the 7 1/100th of a penny on Spotify whenever somebody plays it. It's like, oh, that song that I wrote when I was 17, I just got 7/100ths of a penny for that. That's yay! It's finally paying off.
I don't even waste my time with Spotify, to be honest with you, but whatever, But
Amazon UK pays me almost 2 cents per stream, which is amazing.
You're rolling in it, man. You're just rolling in it.
I know. I'm going to leave my widow that stream, that income stream.
Now, it's kind of amusing to me because I remember, and this should especially ring true to you because of where you were, from. But, you look at that Eagles documentary that they did, and here's Glenn Fry talking about cruising around with Bob Seger. Yeah. And Bob Seger's telling him, you got to write your own songs, man. He's like, I don't know how to do that. He says, what if it sucks? And Seger tells him, it's going to suck.
It will.
And you're only going to get better from there. And
that's absolutely the truth.
Yep.
I mean, still, I probably half the stuff I write, I discard, or at least I tuck it away into a file that I write on the computer or on my iPad or whatever I have handy into a file. So I keep all these lyrics, and a lot of them are terrible. But if I'm writing something that's pretty good and I get stuck a little bit, I'll go through that file and maybe there's a couple of lines I'll pull out of that.
Yep.
They don't seem like they would fit, and then I stick them in there and I figure, oh no, that takes this song in a little bit of a different direction. That it can work that way. There's some songs I've written where I don't even know what they meant until later on.
No, I can totally relate to that. And I've done that too. I mean, it's in the classic story of it is A Day in a Life, because, John had his thing, Paul had his thing, they put them together and they made A Day in the Life. And I've done that with a couple of things where I've got, okay, I've only got 30 seconds of this, but I like what it is, but I can't seem to finish it. And then I'll match it up with something else, or, and the same thing too. I mean, I got lyrics piled up. I totally get where you're coming from with that. But
Tommy Evans and Pete Ham had two different songs that they mashed together that became Without You. Without you, can't live. Living is without you.
Yeah. Yep.
From Badfinger, those two guys from Badfinger had two completely different songs, and they mashed them together.
Yeah, that was a whole tragedy right there. Those guys were great.
Boy, howdy.
They were
met Joey Mullen once. Talked to him for about 15 minutes, and he was a class guy.
Really?
Yeah. He was touring as Badfinger just because he was in hard times. He was laying carpeting in Minneapolis, I think. I think he's in Nashville now. But I mean, he was in a rough situation, so he was out touring as Badfinger with some, he was the only one left.
Right.
There's the drummer, can't think of his name, Joe somebody, had passed also. But he was out there whacking around as Badfinger, and I went down to a casino in Tunica, Mississippi. I was one of maybe 8 people that were there to see him. And the sound guy could tell he could tell by the way I was reacting that I was a fan. He came over to me on the break and said, "You want to go back here and meet Joey?" And I said, yeah, heck yeah. And we went back there, and he could not have been nicer. I mean,
really?
Just a swell guy. He wanted me to hang around. I had to work the next day, and it was a couple-hour drive back to Memphis. He wanted me to hang around, stick around for the second set, and then have beers afterwards.
But I mean, that's so sad for him, though. I mean, good for you. You get to meet him, but
yeah. Their manager took all their money.
Yep. Yeah, that was just a tragedy. And for as good as they were, David,
Yep.
for as many hits that they had, and
yep.
There were a lot of people that called them the second Beatles,
right?
But
incredibly melodic, great musicians, great harmonies.
Oh yeah.
Just real tragedy. Stan Pauly was their manager's name, and Pete wrote his name on his suicide note.
So anyway, let's get back to you instead of the whole show is supposed to be about you, not about all the rock and roll trivia that we both know collectively, right? But no. Now, what album are you on now?
This will be my 5th album.
That's I thought you said. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the 4th one was an EP with 7 or 8 songs on it, and this one's going to be an EP with 8 songs on it. My short attention span just doesn't. I just can't bring myself to put out a 12-song album anymore. It's not what people are buying anyway. Everybody just streams or downloads singles or something like that.
Yeah, that's a travesty too, because for as much work as we put into things, and I saw something the other day on probably that it might have been on that ISSA page, but it's like don't ask me to work for nothing.
Right.
Don't think of all the money that you've got invested in your equipment, all the time that you've invested learning your craft, and I don't know about yourself, but for me it was like I would have to spend hours and hours and hours just, training my voice to try to do, there's a lot of work that people just figure that, okay, we can just pick up a guitar because we're gifted. We're not. Right.
No, my first guitar lesson was, he's got the whole world in his hands. They taught me 2 chords, and it was 3 strings, a single finger on the G chord and a single finger on the C chord.
Right.
I came home and my mother said, "What did you learn?" And I played He's Got the Whole World in His Hands, and she thought I was a genius. No, I mean, guitar, I love playing guitar. It's an instrument that you can get fairly rudimentarily good at pretty quickly. And then from there, though, to get like really good that takes a lot more time.
Yeah.
And I think it's more than the 10,000 hours before you find your own voice on that instrument.
Well, I've certainly enjoyed it all my life, and there's the old joke, you can never have too many guitars, and I don't know.
I don't have that many. I think I've got 4 or 5, maybe tops.
Oh, that's not bad.
No, yeah, no, I don't. I let's see, 1, 2, 3. Well, I have a guitar Lele, so that might count as 4.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Well, I've got a Ganjo, which is yeah, that definitely I count that as one. But now I think that of all the guests that we've had on the show, I think probably the top was Chris Squire, and I think he's got like 25, and most of them are ovations because he just loves ovations. But.
Oh, I forgot. I've got an ovation. I forgot of the ovation. I've got an ovation too. Okay, 6.
you got a favorite?
Well, I've had this Martin that I play. I've had it for, let's see, 14 years now, I think, something like that. Okay. And it's just a solid instrument. Yep. It's accurate all the way up and down the fretboard. Tonality just keeps improving the more I play it. It's a D28, and it's just a great instrument.
D28 is a very nice instrument.
And I've got an SG.
Oh wow!
That I use for everything electric.
Okay.
And then the guitar Lele.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that. What's that all about? Same thing as a Ganjo, but it's a ukulele that you tune as a guitar?
Yeah, exactly right. I was recording the first album, and I was in a hotel room between one night between sessions, and I was, no, that's not how this goes. It was a couple days before the sessions were going to start, and I was putting a new set of strings on because I wanted to get them stretched out and ready, studio ready. And as sometimes happens when you're putting new strings on, one of the pegs popped and it flew. And
that's always fun.
I have Holiday, and I have no idea where that peg went to this day. It's probably still in that room somewhere. So I had to go over to Guitar Center. There was a Guitar Center like 3 blocks away. And I go into the Guitar Center, and all I've got is a credit card. And I'm not going to buy like a peg for 69 cents on a credit card. 5, 6 years ago. and so I'm like just kind of looking around for something I can buy that would make it worthwhile putting this peg on the, and I found this guitar lately, and I ended up using it on about half of the songs on the album.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Because I've got a ukulele, but trying to learn the chords for a ukulele is so completely opposite of what you would put your fingers for on the fretboard for a guitar.
I'll give you, you're going to say, Dave, I did not know this, and now I understand it completely. A ukulele is tuned a fifth higher than a guitar.
Right.
So if you play a fifth to the chord you're supposed to be playing, that's how it goes.
Oh, well, you're right. I did not know that.
So if you're playing something everybody's playing in G, you play a D chord.
Interesting.
I think it is. It's either a fourth or a fifth, but I think it's a fifth. I know. Like once I realized that, it was like, oh, I now know how to play ukulele.
Well, look, we're this always happens. We get so much into this because everybody that's been on the show it just turns into a just cool, warm conversation.
Yeah.
And before you know it, the 45 minutes are up, and we're 30.
There.
Well, we're close. So, but I want to make sure that we play this video of yours, and I want you to cue it up for us so that you can tell everybody what the song is about, the name of the song, where we're going with it. We're going to play the whole video for you.
Well, the song is called "Old Ghosts and Everyday Angels," and it started with this idea during the pandemic of writing a tribute song to all these people that were being everyday angels, all the hospital workers and the first responders and people like that. And so I had that in mind, and that's not where the song ended up going. Unfortunately. And I also had to Gettysburg not too long earlier, and I had seen these grave markers at Gettysburg that just had numbers on them because there were so many slaughtered people during those battles that they couldn't identify them. They buried them, and they just had little concrete rectangles that said 608, 609, 610. And I was thinking about Old Ghost and the way that the words fit together, Old Ghost and Everyday Angels, led to this song. So I wrote the song, and it's got some references to a couple that are happy together. And then suddenly the song swerves over to this the observer who shares some attention problems with me. I have a short attention span, and so the song goes a little bit all over the place. And then I did the video for it, and the video somehow made it all make sense. I mean, this was one of those songs where I wrote, and I think it's a good song, but I didn't understand really how it all fit together. And then I made the video for it, and then I watched the video and I thought, aha, huh. So hopefully the video makes the lyrics make sense.
Well, let's do it. Old Ghosts and Everyday Angels by Dave Hinske.
Old ghosts and everyday angels, T, giants and horses, dogs with bones, painters and chains, teachers on thrones. Heaven's a door, hell's just a key for old ghosts, everyday angels and me. The oboe player nearly became lost. She dreamt of spring, but woke up to a frost wall. Daffodils and pansies and Alexander Brandy's. She'll stay inside, yeah, that's what it costs. She loves the guy that bangs the kettle drums. He loves her back in rhythms all of time. He brews her tea and bakes all her favorite cakes. And both of them love what they've become. I watch them from a distance. I don't have a clue. Nothing that I say matches up to what I do. It's not that I am laughing or trying to be unkind. It's just too many voices. Vocals and everyday angels. Giants and horses, dogs with bones, painters, trains, teachers on thrones. Heavens adore, hell's just a key for old ghosts, everyday angels and me. Old ghosts and everyday angels. Old ghosts and everyday angels. Old ghosts and everyday angels. And me. Oh, ghosts and everyday angels. Oh, ghosts and everyday angels. Oh, ghosts and everyday angels. And me. Oh, ghosts and everyday angels. Oh, ghosts and everyday angels. Oh, ghosts and everyday angels. And me. Oh, ghosts and everyday angels. Oh, ghosts and everyday angels. Oh, ghosts and everyday angels. And me.
3, 2, 1, back.
That was
There's
so
a lot of
cool.
things about work. Like, there's no substitute for
And-
hard work.
Oh.
And this is how we pay for the show.
Still got it.
Oh, you still hear it? Oh. Sorry, hold on.
It's okay.
There we go.
Got to pay for the show.
Yeah, I guess so. We still got the YouTube thing going on in there.
Oh, it's still playing? Oh, there.
Sorry about that, folks.
Okay, there we
No,
go.
that's all right. I probably make
It was
half a
playing.
penny because you played the ad.
I was going to say so many things about the song, and all of a sudden that stuff happened, and I'm like, what the hell just happened here? We got maybe that's our first sponsor. I don't know. No, but what a cool tune, man! And
Thanks.
I love the ending. How many people played on that with you?
Oh, that's all me.
That's all you.
Yeah, the last couple albums, with one exception of a Tom Miller here in Chicago, played some Hammond on. last couple albums have just been me. Pandemic. I've got asthma. My wife has a lung condition. We're in our 60s. We haven't done it. I've just sat in this room.
You got to stay safe. Yep.
Yeah, and
Yep.
made all of this music. It's been very satisfying, though, I must say. I've learned a lot about how to construct arrangements.
Well, you certainly did it with that. I mean, look, I'm a Civil War buff to begin with. So the way that you tied all that stuff in together and stuff, that was very cool to me.
I found this cemetery a few miles away from us in Evanston, Illinois, that had all these sculptures of the angels, and then the grave markers of these old ghosts, and it was like kismet, just very fortuitous.
I'm guessing that your wife supports everything that you do.
Yeah, in both ways. Yeah, both ways.
Yeah,
for sure.
that's huge. It really is for any artist. That's very huge.
Yeah, my parents didn't at all, which was kind of a blessing because that made me work harder at it. When I won Album of the Year, my speech was, and no thanks to my parents who didn't support me at all. Yay.
No, I don't know what you can see, Dave, but we've got last week's guest, Caroline Park from Alberta, Canada, was on with us last week, also an ISA member, and she just said hello from Alberta, Canada. So hello, Caroline.
Oh, hello, Caroline.
Yep, she's got some very cool stuff as well. I saw that she was doing some recording with someone with some violin. That should be kind of cool. See when that comes out. But
on my first album, I have a song that a cellist came in, and I didn't know her. She plays with the Memphis Symphony Orchestra, and I have this song that's about child abuse on it. And she came in and she laid down a track in, I don't know, like the first 6 or 7 minutes. She played this track, and I'm in the control booth, and I'm just, tears are streaming down my eyes. And we get done with it, and she goes, I'd like to take another pass. And I go, no, I think we got it. Here's your check. Thank you.
It's so strange how music can do that to you. I mean, you go from literally zero to a pad and a paper, pick up whatever instrument it is that you play, and with the grace of God, all of a sudden you come up with a song, and it comes out of nowhere. And it's just, the creative process is just so cool.
Yep, I agree completely. And I have no idea where it comes from. I've written, I don't know at this point, probably a couple hundred songs. And if I knew where the switch was and was able to flip it, I would. But I don't know. I don't know where it comes from. I know there's things that trigger it. I mean, I could tell you every song I wrote, what triggered that song, but I don't know how to pull the trigger.
When it hits you, it hits you.
Yep.
If you've got, and look, I do call it a gift. To me, it's a gift from God, because not everybody can do it. And I'm always apprehensive if I'm going to play something that I just wrote, even with guys that I've worked with for years, still to pull up a guitar and say, hey, what do you think of this one? It's like, what if they don't like it? What if it's bad? What? You know what I'm talking about.
Actually, I'm pretty confident these days. If I have something that I'm happy with, I don't mind sharing it. I'm pretty okay with like introducing it in front of people pretty quickly if I think it's quality.
Well, cool. Well, good for you, man. And Dave, I tell you what, man, there's a hell of a lot more that I really would like to talk to you about. So, I mean, at some point I hope you come back at some point, because
I would be delighted.
There's more stuff that, as it always happens, man, these 45 minutes, all of a sudden they're gone. I wanted to ask you about your radio show in New Mexico and these other things, but we're just cooked on time. So,
Gotcha.
if you would be so kind as to join us again in the future, I would really appreciate that.
Look, it's been a pleasure, and especially at my age, to have this opportunity to have a rebirth into my music career has been delightful, and it's been due to people like you that are willing to listen to an old guy that maybe has still some good music in him.
Hey, that's the problem I've got, though, is that there's so many old guys that don't get any airtime.
Mm.
And I don't want to hear this pop, disco-ish kind of stuff. It's just...
You won't want to listen to my new record then.
No, what I'm talking about is the people that don't know how to play an instrument, that can't sing a lick, that everything is computer generated. I hate that. I mean, from what we just listened to of yours, and for you to have played the whole thing yourself, that's the stuff that I really dig. And anyway,
I love playing with other people, but the pandemic, we had to pivot, and I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about bass playing. And like I said before, I've learned how to put different instruments together. I've learned this software that I have. I use Logic Pro 10, and I bet I don't use a tenth of what it's capable of, and it's brilliant. I mean, it's the equivalent of whatever they use in the Pro Tools. It's the equivalent of Pro Tools, but it's
Pro Tools,
$300.
Yeah,
it's just unbelievable.
Well, again, I want to thank you for coming on with us, and I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation, and thoroughly enjoyed the tune. I just just tell us everybody where they can find your music, if you would.
DavidHinske.com, but all the normal outlets, Amazon, iTunes, or Apple, whatever they're calling themselves now, and of course Pandora and Spotify. I was ego surfing a couple days ago, and man, it's available. There was some record store in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, that was selling it.
Cool.
And I was like, what? I was tempted to buy one of the singles for 99 cents to see if, in fact, I made any money off of it.
Well, I don't know, man. It's always great to make new friends, and again, thank you so much for being on with us. Stick with me for a minute after the show's over with. But my advice to everyone is go see some local music. Go find somebody who's got some good new songs that they've written. Don't just listen to Sweet Home Alabama and Brown Eyed Girl. Listen to somebody like Dave Hinske, who's got some really good stuff to listen to.
Thank you, Pete.
No, thank you, man. Anyway, that's it for us tonight. We'll be back next Tuesday, same time, same bat channel. Go see somebody live, and 3 Chords and the Truth. Later.